This is a quick, hopefully off-the-cuff conversation about Staph aureus. A lot of you guys are texting me and DMing me about Staph aureus, and you're finding Staph aureus in your cattle, and a lot of you think that that's a death sentence, and it does not have to be. There's a few things that you should know. First of all, staph comes and goes, and so it tends to pop up when there's stress. So reducing stress will make it kind of go away and hide. And it's very difficult to get rid of it. However, I definitely have gotten rid of it. Before I was married to him, I actually got rid of it using Hubert's formulas. We're about to release for y'all a formula called Utterwell, and that's a very similar product to a product he's had on the market for a long time in commercial dairies, and that helps during the dry period. The most effective time that I've gotten rid of Staph aureus is during the dry period. I've bought a lot of Staph aureus positive cattle over the years on purpose because they were really valuable genetically and they just happened to have Staph aureus. Now there is a genetic component to staph and other bacterial issues for sure, but I felt like I could breed it out, and I've been relatively successful in doing so. I've even nursed calves on those cows and sometimes used those cows as nurse cows. And believe it or not, they are not, those calves are not more likely to have staph because they nursed on a Staph-a cow. In fact, Hubert did a study in Lancaster, Pennsylvania a number of years ago, and it turns out that the calves that were on Staph-a positive nurse cows actually had a lower incidence of Staph aureus as first calf heifers. So what do you do now? You have a cow that's tested positive for staph, and she might have abnormal milk quality. Hopefully it's in only 1 quarter or 2. And I would just use excellent sanitation and milk the other quarters, and I'd feed the staph milk to the pigs, to the chickens. I know it's gross. I know it looks gross. Sometimes it's definitely abnormal milk a lot of the times in a staph cow. But honestly, the pigs and the chickens don't care. Mix it with their feed. Wash your hands. Staph is everywhere, you guys. Like, it's all over your skin. It's omnipresent in the environment. Like, if you've walked into a hospital, just walked into a hospital, you have been exposed to antibiotic resistant staph and probably strep. So this notion that your milk cow is this vector for it in your life and that nothing else is a little nonsensical. It's like everything else. The terrain is everything. And I'm not saying that you should not be careful. You absolutely should be. We're probably milking 60 cows right now. And of those, I would say upwards of 10 are staph positive cows. And we don't milk them last, which is very unconventional. I'm not recommending this. If you guys only have a few cows, I would milk them last. For us, it just got to be such a pain to milk them last. And I could be really nuts, and this could blow up in my face. But in most instances for us, those Staph aureus cows do not have positive CMTs. That's a California mastitis test. Definitely get one of those. It's your friend. They oftentimes have low counts, not like exceptionally low, but they're not exceptionally high either. Keep in mind that our milk is pasteurized now and made into cheese, and I recognize that is a different situation than many of you are in because you're drinking raw milk. When we sold raw pet milk, we did not put those Staph-a cows in the bulk tank. But we drink that milk now. I mean, I'm drinking milk from those cows mixed in our bulk tank, and I'm no worse from the wear. Again, everybody's got to make their own decision. You have to decide based on what your individual family needs are, how much you like the cow, whether or not you can keep the cow as a nurse cow, whether or not it's only in 1 quarter. But just know that it's not a death sentence. Cows can get over it. And the demonstration clinically of getting over Staph aureus is 3 successive tests a certain number of weeks apart that are negative for staph. I bought a number of cows over the years that were staph positive. Some of them still are, and some of their daughters are. But some of them aren't. And we didn't give them antibiotics. We used Hugh's Utterwell, which we're gonna, again, that's gonna be available to you guys in the next couple of weeks on our website. But The dry period is an incredible time of healing. That's when the udder involutes. So the reason why staph is so persistent and so difficult to deal with, even with antibiotics, is because it hides, and it hides deep in the udder. And during the dry period, the udder involutes. So it sort of like opens up caverns and heals itself. It's an amazing process. So the most success I've had treating Staph aureus is during the dry period, with really long dry periods, like deliberately giving the cow a longer dry period, like 4 or 5 months, using a lot of udder well. That's Hugh's Thymol-based product, like 2 or 3 tubes in the quarter at dry off. We've also used a herd vaccine for it that we made ourselves. That's a whole nother process, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about that because I am not, in general, that's not how I approach things. But there have been cases that's been very successful on our farm, as well as other farms that Hugh has helped. So there are options out there. The herd vaccine, by the way, was made with our own milk, and it was sent off to a small private manufacturer, and they turned the bacteria in our own bulk tank into a vaccine. We only use that on positive cows that are resistant to treatment that we otherwise want to keep. And we've had some real success with it. Some of our Staph-a cows that had high counts now have low somatic cell counts. And when we culture them, they will only have like 1 staph culture on the plate. We culture a lot. Culturing cows is not rocket science, you guys, and it's really accessible to you at home. Like, you could buy an incubator, we buy tri-plates, and you just take a milk culture, you swipe it on the plate, and you see if it grows. And then you look at it under a microscope. I'm not saying you need to do this. I'm just saying that there are ways that are in-house of going about it. So in summary, Staph-a cows can very much be part of your herd. That it is highly contagious through milking equipment and through flies, so managing that is important. I will say this, and I'll conclude this by saying that Staph aureus is definitely terrain dominated, meaning we have many cows in our herd who've been exposed to all the other cows, who I'm sure have been milked after one of these other cows without a perfectly dip. We dip in a bleach solution the milk inflations between each cow to reduce the transmission, but I am quite certain that somebody has touched these cows with Staph aureus on their hands and milked them, and I'm certain at times improper milking technique has been used, because it's just bound to happen. And yet, the majority of our herd does not have Staph aureus. So what I'm really interested in the end is creating a herd of cattle that are resistant to it because of their healthy immune systems. And that comes in part from the nurture part of things. That means raising the calves on the cows. It means offering them free choice kelp. It means rotated pastures. It means low fly pressure. It means tons of different things. It means that they get a natural dry period. It means that we don't vaccinate for other things, so we're not atypically manipulating their immune systems. All of those things will reduce it over time. But I'm interested in what animals do not have staph, even though they've been exposed to staph. And that's one of the reasons I'm passionate about selling semen straws to you guys, because I'm breeding for the things that you guys care about in your environment. And so if you're interested in straws of semen from a bull whose mother did not have staph, has great milk quality, one of the bulls I would suggest would be Christopher. That bull is out of just the most fantastic cow, and she just has like really low somatic cells. She's like 8 years old, never had staph, never cultured positive for anything. So those are the kind of cows you want. And Christopher's dad came out of a cow who lived till she was 17. You don't live until you're 17 if you're gonna like show up positive on a CMT culture and you're at a commercial dairy. Like, that's just not how you live till you're 17 on a commercial dairy. And this cow was the paternal grandmother of Christopher. So if you're looking for genetics that are resistant, I would suggest him or others. He's also one of our top milk sharing bulls. And the last thing I want to just say to you guys is to stay encouraged. I know that it's really hard when you only have one cow or two cows and she's Staph aureus. It feels like your spirit was crushed. Believe me, I really get that. And I just want you to know that it's not the end of the world. It will get better, whether this cow or whether another cow. I remember how crushed my spirit felt when I first discovered that I had milk quality issues in my small herd. And the last thing I will say is this. Many of you guys are 100% grass feeding on grass that you have no business 100% grass feeding on. I'm just going to be honest. It's fescue, it's rotten grass, it's not good, it's not palatable. Your cows have poor rumen fills, they're not shiny, and then you have a milk quality problem. That is a result of stress. And so anything that you can do to reduce stress is going to reduce your chances of getting something like Staph aureus. And if you have it, it's going to reduce the chances that it's like going to blow up and be bad. So really, really do everything you can to meet the nutritional needs of your cow, regardless of your ideology or philosophy. I understand many of you want to be grain-free. I understand many of you want to be all organic. But the reality is that you might not be able to find or afford grain-free and organic feedstuffs in your area to feed your cow. And she needs food now. She needs nutrition now. And so you can't expect to have perfect milk quality out of a cow that you're not feeding for that level of performance. So just remember that what goes in, what goes out, and that it takes a long time to get where we want to go. But keep going. It's going to be all right.